Hi everyone, a very good morning to all of you. Today we are going to study about system of particles. So let us try to understand what kind of questions will come based on system of particles. So when you consider system of particles, the very first kind of question what will come here is that is based on the center of mass. It's all about center of mass. So, based on center of mass, the first kind of question what they will give is if there are n point masses. So, the question can be about point masses. So, the question can be about point masses. Let's take there are n point masses m1, m2, m3, so on at positions r1, r2, so on, rn. Or they can give the coordinates of each particle and they can ask you position of center of mass. Either they will ask position of center of mass or they'll ask the coordinates of center of mass like xcm, ycm, zcm. If you know the positions of each particles r1, r2, rn, so on, then you can find the position of center of mass rcm using this formula. If you know the coordinates of each particle, then you can find the coordinates of center of mass. But for everything, whether you are finding the position of center of mass or coordinates of center of mass, you must know the reference point or origin. So there is a system of particles means there must be one coordinate system, there must be one origin, so that you can find the coordinates of each particle. But here, in case of entrance, how the questions they will ask is, sometimes they will mention the coordinates, like for one particle, x1, y1, z1. For another particle, x2, y2, z2. Means they will give some numerical value. So they only specify the coordinates in the question. Then you have to substitute in the equation whatever we have in case of xcm, ycm and zcm. But when you have to struggle a little bit is when they have not given the coordinates. Then suppose they have given a system, so they will give some system like, for example, one system like 4 masses are kept at 4 corners of a square, or 3 masses are kept at 3 corners of a triangle. Then depending on the options or depending on the question they ask, first you need to choose which point to be considered as origin. So after considering the origin, then you have to consider the coordinates of each mass. Then you have to find the coordinates of each particle. That means x1, y1, z1. If it is in plane, then only xy coordinates will be there, so that you can find xcm and ycm. So that way you can find the center of mass coordinates or center of mass position. Now here we need to take care one point, that when they have not given reference point or coordinate in the system, we need to choose according to the given question or option. That is what I mentioned clearly here. So that's all how the questions will be given about point masses. So based on the same point masses, sometimes they will give question based on like 2 point masses. See here. So if 2 point masses are separated by some distance, m1, m2, then center of mass must be somewhere in between them, but always closer to greater mass. Always closer to greater mass. If m1 is greater, then here distance of center of mass from m1 is r1, from m2 r2. Then r1 less than r2 if m1 greater than m2. So that is the center of mass position for two particle system, where r1 r2 formulas are given by this one. You can consider this as origin and you can take coordinates of m2 as r2 comma 0 and coordinates of m1 as minus r1 comma 0 and coordinates of center of mass as 0 comma 0, and you can find in the XCM YCM formula, then you can derive this relation like r1 and r2. But derivation is not needed now, just remember. But one of the important thing, that is the center of mass of two particle system. Now similarly, if a r1, r2, so on, rn are positions of masses about center of mass, then the sum of product of mass and position will become 0. Here, what is the condition we are taking? Just before as I explained, if you consider like in case of two particle system M1, M2, then this is center of mass, this is R1, this is R2. Then about center of mass, if you consider the positions, then M1 R1 equal to M2 R2, because M1 R1 bar plus M2 R2 bar should be equal to 0. That is what the sum of product of mass and position about center of mass for a system of point masses is equal to 0. Like here I have given examples. So three masses are placed on the x-axis. 300 gram at origin, 500 gram at x equal to 40, 400 gram at x equal to 70. The distance of the center of mass from the origin. Here all the particles are along x-axis only. That's why center of mass also lies on the x-axis. So only you will get XCM. So what is the formula for XCM? M1 x1 plus M2 x2 plus M3 x3 divided by M1 plus M2 plus M3, where M1 and x1 is 0 because origin, M2 and x2 and M3 and x3. So that way you can find it. So remaining two questions also you just try to solve it based on the same thing. Now when you go next, the next kind of question what they will ask here is based on center of mass only, but continuous mass distribution. Like if there is a ring where the center of mass at the center, if there is a disc, there is a center of mass at the center. So based on that, the questions will be given. At CET and NEET level, usually they will give questions like this here. One disc and one square sheet. Here one disc is there and one square sheet, both are kept in contact. So now what I can do is, as we know the disk center of mass is at center, now I will replace this M1 with a point that is at center. And the center of mass of the square sheet is at center. So that M2 also I will replace with a point. So that now the distance between them will become, this is R and this is A by 2. So R plus A by 2. Now, even though it is continuous mass distribution, I have changed it to point masses, 2 point masses separated by some distance, which we just before learned. What is the position of center of mass in case of 2 point masses separated by a small distance? Now, remember center of mass position for semi-ring, semi-disc, hemisphere. Also sometimes they give questions based on these objects also. So remember these things also. So what is the position of center of mass of the ring and all? So here I have given, in case of semi-ring, the distance of center of mass from the center is 2r by pi. In case of semicircular disc, the distance is 4r by 3 pi. In case of hollow sphere, r by 2. In case of solid sphere, 3r by 8. This is not that much needed, but just remember cone. In case of hollow cone, h by 3 from the center, and solid cone means h by 4. Majorly, you remember first two, semi-ring and semi-disc. Usually they try to ask in the CET and NEET level. If you can remember all the formulas, it will be good only. But at least first two, you try to remember it. Now one question I'll just explain you. Suppose two identical rods, each of mass m and length all connected as shown. Locate center of mass. So now two particles are there. So this is one rod means its center of mass is here, and this is another rod means its center of mass here. So now I can replace this with 2 point masses, same mass, and this distance will become how much? L by 2. Now 2 point masses separated by a distance, but here 2 masses are equal means center of mass will be at the center. That means what is the distance from this junction? L by 4. So that way they will give the continuous mass distribution, but you have to replace those bodies with a point mass. Where you have to keep that point must be the center of mass of that continuous mass distribution. So that way you can solve the other question also. So that is how to find the position of center of mass for point masses and for continuous mass distribution. Now afterwards, the next thing is based on motion of center of mass. Suppose in a system particles are not at rest, they are keep on moving. Then you can find the velocity of center of mass from this formula. Like m1 v1, just like m1 r1 bar, here velocities will come m1 v1 plus m2 v2 so on, mn v1 by m1 plus m2 plus so on mn. Even acceleration also similar way you can find it. So that here the external force acting on the system means m into rate of change in velocity of center of mass, nothing but total mass into acceleration of center of mass. So if external force is 0 on a system means its velocity either 0 or velocity constant. Whose velocity? Center of mass velocity. Maybe 0 or maybe constant. That means the linear momentum of the center of mass remains conserved. So that is what here I have written. If there are no external forces acting on the system, there is no shift in the position of center of mass. If it was at rest, or it will continue to move with the same velocity. See, it is at rest. If it is at rest, if it is moving already, then it will continue to move with the same velocity. And few questions can be asked based on the shift in the position of center of mass. That also important. See here how they will ask the question. They will ask either disk or sphere. Like, see, there is a disk of mass capital M. Now from that a small portion of small radius r of mass m1 I removed. Then capital M is actual mass, m1 is removed mass, m2 is remaining mass. Then the original center is C, actual center of mass of the disk or sphere. Now after removal of m1, as right side less mass, the center of mass will shift leftward. So there is a shift in the position, and that shift here is x2. So the shift happened like this. So now what we will do is, if m1 is there, m2 is there, together the center of mass is here, full disk. So that we will consider like for remaining portion m2, for removed portion m1, if they are at their same positions, then this is the center of mass, and then we will apply the formula m1 x1 equal to m2 x2, nothing but a1 x1 equal to a2 x2, where you need to take care how to find the mass removed and the mass remaining in terms of total mass. For that here I have given clear formula. In case of disk, if capital M is total mass, then for total area, then small m1 is mass per smaller area, then you will get the cross multiplication. Then remaining mass you will get it. But in case of sphere, you have to consider capital M is the mass for total volume, then small m1 is the mass for small volume, so that you can find it. So this way, after finding m1, m2, you can substitute in this equation m1 x1 equal to m2 x2. So this way, just try to understand. This is how the questions will come based on center of mass. I have given examples also. So just try to understand and try to solve it. Now, the next thing what they will ask in the entrance is based on moment of inertia. Moment of inertia means for a point mass, if you want to define what is the moment of inertia means, you need to know the reference axis. So from the reference axis, if you know the perpendicular distance, then moment of inertia is mr square. If one mass is there, then mr square. If two masses are there, then 2 will come. If n masses are there, then n terms will come. So each mass moment of inertia is product of mass and square of the perpendicular distance from the axis. And if the point mass is on the reference axis, then moment of inertia 0. Suppose this is line and mass is on the line. Then there is no distance, so moment of inertia is 0, because it is the ability to rotate about one axis. If the body should rotate about one axis, means it should be at particular perpendicular distance. So that way they can ask the question based on moment of inertia. But here, when they ask moment of inertia about continuous mass distribution, there are few objects like ring, disc, sphere. Again, two types, solid and hollow. Cylinder also solid, hollow, and rod and rectangular sheet. So you need to remember the formulas for each and every object, and then you need to apply two formulas or two theorems. One is parallel axis theorem and another one is perpendicular axis theorem to find the moment of inertia. For example, I will tell you, see here, moment of inertia of a rod, if you consider about the central axis, that is called an axis passing through center, we know the moment of inertia, that is ml square by 12. And if you want to find any other axis, unknown axis, and if it is parallel to this known axis which is passing through central axis, then the moment of inertia about unknown axis will become about central axis plus mass into square of the distance. So that this is the moment of inertia of the unknown axis, where the unknown axis and the central axis, that is known axis, must be parallel to each other, and small r is the perpendicular distance between two parallel axes. So that's why we call it as parallel axis theorem. And one more thing is perpendicular axis theorem. Like in case of rectangular sheet, about a line perpendicular to breadth, it is mb square by 12. About a line perpendicular to length, it is ml square by 12. So that the moment of inertia about z axis will become ix plus iy. For a plane body, if you know the moment of inertia about x axis and y axis, which are in the same plane, as that of the object, then the moment of inertia about the perpendicular axis, that is z axis, will become sum of x and y moment of inertia. So these are the two important theorems based on which they will ask the questions. So that is what you have written. If there is an unknown axis for any of these bodies or a combination, we need to apply parallel axis theorem or perpendicular axis theorem. And here I have clearly mentioned, for any rigid body, one known axis will be there that must pass through center of mass, one unknown axis which must be parallel to central axis, then the moment of inertia for unknown axis is this one. And this is the perpendicular axis theorem, that is about a z axis which is perpendicular to the plane of the object, that is the moment of inertia, sum of moment of inertia of the object about x and y. Now, few questions also given based on this one. So please try to understand and try to solve these questions. So it's all about, one is main thing, moment of inertia, and another one is center of mass. So first try to practice all these things. Then in the next class, we'll try to study about torque, angular momentum, and rotational motion and rolling motion. So we will continue in the coming class. So thank you all of you.